War for the Planet of the Apes, which came out 2017.
Yes.
Yes. I might have told this story before, but I'm gonna tell it again. When I saw this movie, it was it during was it was a little bit before rental reviews, I think. But me, Justin, Kieran, I think someone else went to go see this film when it came out. And this is the most bizarre thing in the world. Me and Kieran are waiting for food. Justin goes in. I come into the theater and I notice they're like sitting further away, Justin and them. So I sit in the aisle and I sit down. And like Justin goes, oh, buddy. And I went, what? And this really big fat guy behind me goes, oh, come on. What the hell? I'm like, what just happened? I wasn't blocking him. I'm not, although maybe I do have a big giant head. But like, I like sat down. This guy was so pissed that I sat in front of him. He was like furious, like, oh, sorry. And I moved a couple seats down. And sure enough, a minute later, Kieran comes walking in. And we're looking at him like, uh-oh. He sits in this not having, so Justin must have done the same thing. So this guy yelled at like 3 people, this huge fat guy. Kieran sits down, he goes, oh, you got, what the fuck? And Kieran did the same thing I did. He's like, huh? And he got up and he moved down a couple seats. And then for the rest of the film, this fat fuck farted constantly. I had to watch pretty much most of this movie in a fart cloud. So, it's a really depressing movie, especially when you're being like gassed in the theater at the time. And that is like my memory of my theater experience was just weird fat guy that didn't want anyone to sit in front of him and could not hold his farts in. As for the movie itself, let me read the plot synopsis here. This very pixelated plot synopsis. In this thrilling climactic chapter of the Planet of the Apes saga, Caesar, Andy Serkis, and his apes are forced into a deadly conflict with an army of humans led by a ruthless colonel, Woody Harrelson. But after suffering unimaginable losses, Caesar resolves to avenge his kind, pitting him against the colonel for a final showdown that will determine the future of the planet of the apes, maybe? Logan, what did you think of this one?
I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's definitely, I like how it's different than, it's like, it's not a copy paste. Woody Harrelson's character, the Colonel, he is a completely different villain. And I really like how it's not just a rewash. And I think the way they projected the storyline was just as good as the last one, to be honest. I think it's really hard to even say which one is better. But it's hands down. It's thrilling. This one had a little bit more humor in it. And with the characters,
one character, they kind of needed the humor because this movie is really sad. Like I really like this movie, but like I've maybe seen it 2 or 3 times before this, spaced out, because I'm like, man, I'm gonna be like bummed for the rest of the day. And I'm like, it's a really good. You ever have that where it's like, I know this movie's really good, it's a really good movie, but I don't want to watch it because it's gonna bum me out.
Oh no, have you ever seen the Chernobyl Diaries?
No, I haven't.
That series, like I watched, I swear to God, I felt like I was depressed for months after that series.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't kick it. I was like, I would just go to bed at night. I'm like, oh my God, that's what happens in that series. Some of it's true, obviously, but it was like so awful. I was like it really just like, I don't know, man. I just couldn't I could not like get rid of it in my head. I was like, I definitely never want to watch it. It was great, but I never want to watch it.
That's like the not the 2018 one, but the 2010 film Beautiful Boy. That's just a fucking sad film. And I'm like, I remember watching it at the time and I still own it. I'm like, man, this is a really powerful film. I'm never watching it again. I don't even want to talk about what it's about. It's just so depressing. So yes, a few years in the future, the apes are now at war with humans. Humans are specifically hunting apes. And they give I like the little text in the beginning to bring you up to speed. It's like this virus gave rise to the Planet of the Apes. And then they're like, at the dawn of
Yeah.
this, and now we're at the war. From like, oh, that's cool. I like that. There's a good opening where like the humans are killing the apes and they don't realize that like they were kind of set up as bait for other
Yeah.
apes to come in and ambush him. And Caesar, because he doesn't hate humans like he probably should at this point, but he like doesn't. He can't bring himself to actually hate all of them. So I like that he like spares the soldiers who survived.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, go back and tell them we don't want to go to war. The one ape who started war, I killed him. And then you find out that there's like detractors, like apes that were loyal to Koba who sided with the humans just to basically save themselves because they were afraid
Yeah.
of Caesar.
The donkeys.
The donkeys, one because they're like mules,
Yeah.
and two because Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which I don't know why. Like they should be smart enough to know that like the humans aren't gonna like tolerate them for too long.
Once everything's settled, they're just gonna kill you.
Yeah, yeah. I guess they were promised to be spared, but I wouldn't buy that.
No.
But yeah, so he still has his boys, Rocket, Maurice, and this guy was in the last one. What was his name? Luca, I think. The new gorilla.
Yeah.
So they send this guy out. They're like, please tell them we don't want war. Please stop this. And meanwhile, his son, Blue Eyes, and Winter, an albino gorilla, friggin' traitor. They tell him like, hey, we traveled, we found a desert with an oasis with plenty of water and greenery where we can live. It's like, okay, we're gonna make the trip there. But tragedy strikes, Logan. The humans actually track them there and they end up like killing a bunch of apes there, and they believe they killed Caesar, but they actually killed Blue Eyes and Cornelia.
Yeah.
Which now Caesar and Woody Harrelson specifically killed them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Caesar's just like, well, I need revenge. What the fuck? Cornelia survived. The baby survived, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Caesar's motivation, where he's just like, I need to kill this colonel. Because even if we leave, they're going to hunt us. He's like, I need to stop this. And he doesn't want to spare anyone else. He's like, I'm gonna
go ahead.
No, you go.
No. I really like how the progression of his hatred, where he has that like those visions of Koba, and where he's like sees himself turning into what Koba was.
Mm-hmm.
I really like how that progresses through the film.
And one of the things that makes him feel like Koba is he accidentally kills this little girl's dad. Yeah, well, not accidentally. Like they wander upon this base, and there is this guy who was a soldier at one point. He's got like the Alpha Omega logo, which I think is from Beneath Planet of the Apes, maybe. And he draws a gun on the apes because he assumes they're going to kill him. They all assume that they're going to kill each other.
Oh yeah, of course.
And Caesar,
that's all they've ever been told. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Caesar kills this guy, and he finds out shortly afterwards that he had a kid. So Caesar's on this revenge mission because he's mad at someone for killing his like child, and he just killed someone's parent. Like he's just like, uh-oh. Again, he leads to the thing. He's like, am I becoming like Koba? Am I becoming a ruthless monster? But there's something different about this girl, Logan. She doesn't speak. Which, I mean, there are people in like now who can't speak, but the apes don't realize that. They're like, something's up with this. And they wander, they come across other soldiers who also can't speak, who were executed. So that's like the mystery for them. I like what it leads up to. Because in my head, I'm just like, what's going on with this? What are they doing? Because I like forgot. Like I should have been smarter.
Oh no, I completely forgot too. I was like,
yeah,
I'm confused. Like in my head, I was like, all right, so were they traitors? I mean, did they cut their larynx or something? I'm like, I'm confused. Like what happened here? Like, and then why can't I'm like, oh, is she just a mute? Is this not related?
Yes, I love the mystery. And then when it's like spelled out, you're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
The best new addition to this is Bad Ape. Bad Ape is great. He's a very old chimpanzee. So he's been by himself. He was in the zoo and he's been by himself. He doesn't know how to sign because he never learned it.
Yeah, that's the fun. They're talking. He's like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, he's like, what do you mean? I don't understand. But he's also kind of because like apes are supposed to be like social animals. They're
Uh-huh.
supposed to interact, and if you have like an ape like separated, they kind of like go a little nutty. Um, yeah, so he's talking constantly, and they got Steve Zahn to play him, and I really like Steve Zahn.
Oh, he's great. I've loved him ever since like Riding in Cars with Boys. Like
Yes,
he's fantastic.
Saving Silverman for me. That was my favorite Steve Zahn.
Strange Wilderness. That
Strange
movie.
Wilderness was fun.
I love that movie. A lot of people hate it. I love it.
Ooh, the shark
Yeah.
cry.
Where then all of a sudden Bigfoot just walks out there. They just start fucking shooting him.
So he's wearing clothes because he's like balding and he's like constantly up in like the cold environment. I don't know why they all aren't wearing clothes at this point. Like, even though they have fur, it should be pretty cold for them, right?
So apparently this is the tipping point. This was supposed to be Rhett reset it up for us to the ability to take this series and like this is the first evolution of them starting to humanize a little bit and starting to wear clothes.
Okay.
That's why he had him put on clothes. And then also his whole character, did you figure out how he came up with creating the character?
No, they explain.
So his whole character was actually invented while they were doing press for Dawn. And someone asked a question to Andy Serkis, was like, well, do other apes get infected by the virus that weren't from the sanctuary? And that's when they wrote this in because of that question during the press surplus or whatever. And they created Bad Ape to explain that.
Yes. Yeah, because I guess the zoo apes that they freed, I'm like, are we to imply that like they made it with the smart apes and their kids are smart? But no, I guess the virus also spread to other apes and like other zoos.
Yeah.
And they're just reproducing like rabbits over there. Because I looked up like how many apes are in California. There's not that many. I don't know if it factors in like how many are in labs or whatever, but like in zoos, it's not that much. But I love that his name is Bad Ape because that's just what he was used to being called. He's like, I'm Bad Ape. It's just his face is really funny when he's like looking at all the other apes and he's just like smiling.
Or like he looks at the binoculars. He's like, oh, and they're like, what? No. He's like, so small.
And again, you need it. He's not like a Jar Jar Binks where it's like too wacky and inappropriate. You like, as serious as this movie gets, it's still like a PG-13 sci-fi like action thing. So you need some levity in between it, and he provides it like perfectly.
Oh, 100%.
And he's great. And I actually like the relationship between Nova and Maurice.
Yeah.
Because Nova, like Maurice understands like something's up with her. And I like how she got her name. Because Bad Ape was just collecting things and he has like a piece of a Chevy Nova.
Yeah.
And then she has a whole thing. She's like, hey, what am I? I'm not an ape, but I don't feel like a person. And he's like, you're Nova. And that's Maurice only talks like twice, I think. It says
he talks. He talked. What was it?
He
talked in Dawn.
He just said run. That was it.
And then he says the Nova, which apparently is a audio clip from the original Planet of the Apes.
So from Charlton Heston. It's like digitally altered.
Yeah.
You are Nova.
Yeah.
Which was the name he gave the one girl. But yeah, I guess for some of the apes, it's just easier to sign because they're just not you. I guess older apes aren't used to talking. And for some reason, Caesar is talking like his ass off.
Oh yeah, he's talking a lot in this movie. A lot.
Yeah. That could also be because like out of all the people who would have to interact with humans, it has to be him, so he needs to like talk more. So yeah, they're signing except for Bad Ape, who's talking nonstop. Woody Harrelson is great as the Colonel.
Oh yeah.
And I saw an interview where he said he kind of regretted this part because he thought he could have done it better.
Yeah. What was it? He said he felt like he wasn't giving his performance because of how they shot the scenes and the mocap and stuff like that. He said like he wasn't as engaged because he was kind of taken off because I think this is like the first time he's done something like that.
Yeah. And he did it again with Andy Serkis in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I guess he learned in that film. Keep forgetting Andy Serkis directed that.
I actually have not seen it.
It's okay. It's fun. It's fine and fun. The Venom movies are fine and fun. Way better than Morbius and Madam Web. Madam Web commentary track with Once Over with Kaylee. Me and Kaylee did Madam Web. It's available on Patreon, please. Cameras are expensive. Especially when you have to buy 3 of them. So yeah, he is a colonel, and I like his whole story because they realize something's going on. They're like, wait, why is he building this wall here? So yeah, Caesar gets captured by these guys and taken in. But it's like, okay, the colonel is building like a wall. He's preparing for something and he's killing members of his own like troop. What is the deal? And then we learn that the virus that killed the humans, it is still affecting the survivors. It's robbing them of their speech and their higher intellect, which is basically what the humans were in the original Planet of the Apes. They couldn't talk and they were kind of dumb. And I guess what this says, like, I guess it wouldn't make sense for that to happen naturally. So they're like, yeah, what if it was tied to the virus?
Yeah.
Which I thought was, again, normally I hate when prequels over explain shit, but in this, it works for me. It works for me because it didn't make me roll my eyes and I wasn't ready for it. I'm like, oh, cool. I like that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like basically like just because you're immune does not mean you're immune forever.
Yes. And he has a conflict now because his way of dealing with it was to kill his own son and kill anyone who showed any signs of it and to burn all their belongings because he didn't want it to spread. And apparently his superiors, the other army, they don't agree with this. They're like, no, we can't just kill people. There's so little people left. We just can't kill them. Let's figure out how to stop this. So he's like, I love that even at the end, when humans have been pretty much eradicated and they really need each other more than ever, they're still fighting with each other.
I like that because that is basically what happened through those 10 years.
Yeah.
Is like, because it shows like in Dawn, it shows that progression. After all government shut down, humans were just fighting other humans.
Yeah.
And for like survival.
Yeah.
And, I like how it's like, okay, now we actually get we just heard about it. Now we actually get to see it happen.
Yes. Which was cool. And I do like the little like ape crucifixes they have because those X's are from the original, I think. I think even the Tim Burton movies had those like X kind of scarecrow looking things. But Caesar finds out that they captured his tribe. They were able to find the tribe on their way to the oasis and they captured them, brought them here. So now Caesar's got like a whole extra thing. He's like, God damn it. And I like that moment where he like yells at the guy for whipping the orangutan. All the apes start to cheer for him, and then Woody Harrelson kills the other one. But then I like that Caesar's ready to die. He's like, go ahead, kill me. I'll never like do what you want me to do. And like the apes, Lake, I think it was, like his son's girlfriend, they all start picking up the rocks and going back to work because they don't want Caesar to die. And I guess Woody Harrelson makes a point because he's like, what if you were to kill me? So he's like, you're too emotional, Caesar. If you were going to kill me, all my men would just kill all your apes as retaliation. But I think Woody Harrelson also knows that too for Caesar's like, if I kill their leader, they're probably going to all just freak out and murder us. But yeah, no, he's a good ruthless villain. But again, you kind of see where he's coming from.
Well, a
little bit.
Matt Reeves, he knows how to write a villain. Like he's like, I mean, even go to like Batman and the Riddler, like he whatever his brain process is, he knows how to make someone who's teeter-tottering on evil and logical.
Yeah. Which are the most interesting villains. Although sometimes it is fun to just have like an asshole villain right off the bat.
True.
Who has like no real motivation. It's just like, I'm an asshole. Hold on, I'm looking up something because I have a comment about Matt Reeves. I want to see something. Okay. Matt Reeves. 2 hours and 20 minutes for the third epic film in a trilogy that's closing it. That's totally fine. You can have a long movie to close out your trilogy. That's great. The first movie in your new series does not need to be 2 hours and 56 minutes. Okay, look, I like The Batman. I thought the movie was good, but I really can't rewatch it much. It's too fucking long. And the story didn't need to be that long. It could have been condensed a little bit. Go back and watch our review of The Batman. I like that movie. That movie is good. Can we all agree it was too long, though? Do you agree with me, Logan, or no?
No, I mean, I will say, like, even these, to be honest, like, because I mean, with reviewing movies, you kind of start to like look forward to finding a movie that's only an hour and 30 minutes to review and to
Yeah,
take notes for and stuff like that.
yeah,
So, like, when I looked up these, I was like, oh, they're every one of them's 2 something hours long. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
because you kind of like don't get, I love watching movies, but like when you start to like look at them like a lot and like, oh, I gotta rewatch this movie so many times, then take notes on it. It was like
yeah.
2 hours is like you're like I'm kind of done with this. So I do agree with like a 3 hour long movie. I don't think we've ever even actually True Lies. I think is 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think that's the longest movie reviewed, and I
Yeah.
hated writing the notes for that.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes was an hour and 45 minutes. Like, and again, if your first one is good and you know people are going to stick around for the other ones, feel free to extend the running time a little bit. Yeah. 2 hours, close to 3 hours for your first film is ridiculous. But yeah, Woody Harrelson is great. I love the whole thing with the humans are now starting to regress. But yeah, it leads to an exciting finale. Where there's like the other army comes in. You hear he's just like they're sending everyone because I guess there's just so little people left. They're like, this is our last stand. We got to take down this colonel because he has all the good weapons.
Yeah,
And like that's the thing. He's like, this was a thing, but it also was a weapons facility. So he's just like lighting up the sky. I feel bad for all those other soldiers. They like really don't stand a chance at first
oh yeah, all
until
those helicopters get shot down.
until like Caesar's like interference. They were kind of losing. Yeah, so they're all war breaks out. The apes are escaping underground, which I thought was really cool. But I like that during this the colonel's not there and his men are getting like upset. They're like,
Yeah,
Colonel, where are you? And it turns out when there's a moment where Nova breaks into the camp to give Caesar food so he can live. And she leaves behind her doll, and they don't like the men are like, where'd this doll come from? And it spread the virus to Woody Harrelson, and now he's like all mute. And I like that moment with Caesar where it's like, oh, I could execute him, but he's like, he is like just defenseless. And he's like,
yeah,
I will be a bad guy if I kill him. Like, yeah, he was bad and deserves to die, but right now he is not the same person he was like the day before.
yeah. True.
But he has enough knowledge. I guess it hasn't fully kicked in yet. Like he knows what's about to happen. He ends up killing himself. But yeah, unfortunately, and this is also bittersweet, not bittersweet. It's like depressing. The guy that Caesar spared is the one who ends up killing him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a bummer. Like, oh man.
I was hoping. So what I was really hoping was going to happen was I was hoping the preacher, what his name's preacher or whatever.
Yeah.
I was hoping he was going to get the virus,
Yeah.
and then I was like, well, it'd be like I was thinking, I was like, maybe Woody Harrelson's going to give him a command, and he just
Yeah.
can't comprehend that, and then we see Woody Harrelson kill him.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought that's where we were going to go, but
Yeah.
obviously it makes more sense for it to happen to Woody Harrelson or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets blown to shit.
Yeah, and this ape on the left here, what was his name? But one of the
I don't remember. I just
one of
remember
the
calling him Donkey.
Yeah, one of the donkeys. Like he's on the human side and everything, but like throughout the film, what's his face? Caesar is like, hey man, and I think Caesar kills that other ape on accident. Was it Winter? They're trying to keep him quiet, and I think they kill him accidentally, right?
Yeah. Well, definitely he's got him in a chokehold. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he like meant to kill him or if it was just
Yeah.
meant to keep him quiet enough, and then obviously he suffocates him to death.
Yeah. But yeah, so this ape, he's like telling him, he's like, hey man, like I know you don't like me or agree with me, but like you're on the wrong side. These people don't care about you. You're betraying your own kind, really. And his hatred's blinding him, I guess.
Yeah.
But it isn't at that moment where he sees he's like loading the guys with big like military gun, and it's like he sees that he just starts killing all the apes with it, and then like that's kind of his like switch. And then he sees like Caesar's ready to sacrifice himself, and that's when he blows up the dude, and then he gets killed as a result.
Yeah.
But then like I'm like, wow, now all these humans are here with guns and they know the apes are there. How are they going to get out of that? Big avalanche takes care of them. I don't know if they all died, but a lot of them must have died.
Well, because that's another thing is like right before like when they like looking at Caesar and he's the
Yeah.
only monkey they see.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like in my head, I was like, do they believe the same things as Woody Harrelson's? Like,
He
do they, you know,
Woody Harrelson said, he's like, the only thing they fear more than me is you guys.
oh,
Like,
gotcha.
they are also anti-ape. Their problem with Woody Harrelson was that he was just killing too many humans.
Yeah.
So they weren't able to, like, that was the, he's like, they're not able to study the humans who are affected because he keeps killing them.
Well, yeah. And then also they were talking about like how we're like the apes were talking about how humans would try to climb the wall and then they would
Mm.
just kill their own humans trying
Yeah.
to come in.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah, exciting finale, but they make it to the Oasis and Caesar finally succumbs to his wounds. And it's a really sad moment. I like Maurice is there with him at the end.
Yeah.
Because that was like his closest friend. He just wanted to live long enough to know that the apes were safe and home. And Cornelius is like, I'll tell your son who you were, and we'll share your legacy. And then it pans up. I like that it pans up, and you actually don't see a lot of the apes' reactions. You see Rocket turn around and notice, but then like the camera just pans up away from that, and then it just shows the sky. And I really thought they were going to show like a little glint in the sky that was supposed to be like the spaceship.
Oh, like a crash landing down or something.
Not crash landing because it's too early for it to crash land down, but it'd be cool if it's just like up there, like because we don't know where it is. Yeah, we don't know where it is. We know it was on Mars and then it just disappeared. So yeah, it's a bittersweet ending. And it's a really good ending, but it's like really sad. I'm like, I can't watch this all the time. But a solid.
I love how Maurice started like he actually has real sentences and actually speaks to Caesar before he passes. I do like that.
Yes, and Nova's there, so it's showing like they are gonna try and coexist with humans even now, even when they probably shouldn't. I mean, I don't know what other humans she's gonna run into out there. But yeah, it's a nice close to the trilogy. People say this is like probably one of the best movie trilogies of all time, especially in modern day. There's like, I mean, what was the last like great trilogy? I mean, except for of course the Dark Knight movies, and we all know why. We all know what really helped stick the landing for that franchise. But I'm trying to think of like other really great franchises besides.
I mean,
like,
the only other one I can think of that's modern, and that may just be me, but it's not a trilogy. But I mean, the Guardians. I think all 4 of them are great.
Yeah, the Marvel ones are kind of tough though because in between their films,
I mean, all 3 of them. Sorry, that's wrong. Yeah, what I'm talking about. There's not 4 of them.
Yeah, 3. No, but like in between all their films are these big crossovers. So I'm like, I feel like this is cheating a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you can't really watch Guardians 2 and jump right to Guardians 3 because you'd be like, what the fuck happened? Where is all these what is going on? But yeah, no, this might be the best trilogy in recent years, I think.
This well, I was going to say the Spider-Man trilogy is not that bad.
Oh yeah, the newest one. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
the
not
Tom
bad,
Holland one. Yeah, it's not
but
that
again,
bad.
that's another one where they had
same thing.
adventures in between, and also his story started in another movie. I don't know. The MCU is a little different. I'm kind of like putting that separately.
Well, that's the thing. Well, if you got to think of the most modern stuff we have is freaking superhero movies to compare it to.
Yeah.
Not a lot of like original franchises that aren't on major IPs have trilogies that we can really, I guess, associate the to make a an opinion on.
But yeah, I think when people think of like classic trilogies, though, like Indiana Jones before they ruined it, Star Wars before they ruined it, just these kind of like self-contained trilogies. I feel like these new Planet of the Apes are the standouts, really.